So we're going to talk about women in leadership.
Yep. Okay.
So what do you think?
So I think for me, throughout my career, I've been really lucky and fortunate to work with some really inspiring women in leadership. And the first woman that really sticks to mind that made a massive difference for me was a consultant nurse called Deborah Moore. And she was the only female in the executive management team at the time. She was very person-centred. A lot of her male counterparts were very business orientated. And I can remember being in a meeting and just being blown away with how she wiped the floor with all of them without raising her voice, without her hair out of place, and just thinking, wow, that's what I want to be. I want to be somebody that is confident enough in my convictions and be able to not be intimidated by quite powerful men, for want of a better word. So yeah, that's.
And do you think that's changing now? Do you think there are more women in? With social care is obviously a female-dominated industry, but have you noticed in the time you've worked in social care it changing in terms of those top-level positions?
Yes, definitely. I think again, 20 years ago there were women that were in middle management, but most of the senior management team in the early days were men. And whereas now, if we take our organisation for example, we've got some pretty phenomenal women in leadership who are leading by example and are quite inspirational.
Yeah, so this is the first time in my career I've worked for women.
Wow.
I've always had, or maybe my direct line manager might have been a woman, but above that was always male. So this is the first time I've worked for women. It is very different actually.
Different good?
Yes, different good. Yeah. I think for me, so I've been doing this 25 years. So I think when my kids were little and I was working in a leadership position, there was always this sense of being pulled in two directions. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that comes from, I don't know what your experiences are, but my parents were older, so they were in their 40s when I was little, like a baby. So maybe they come from a different generation where it's absolutely fine for women to have a career, but until they have a baby. Yeah. So that's kind of ingrained in there somewhere. So I think I tried to do both. Well, I did do both.
Yeah.
I've got two grown girls, so I did definitely do both. But I think there was always an inner conflict to that. Did you feel when your girls were younger that constant mum guilt? Oh, constant, and still now, even when they're grown up. Even though they turn around and say to me that I'm an inspiration to them, and that they now feel they can go on and be leaders and you know they're quite feminist in there. Not that I'm particularly politically feminist, but they are quite.
Yes.
And they literally thank me for it. They will look me in the eye and say thank you for setting that example for me, but I still feel that guilt. So I think one of the big things for me is coming to work somewhere where there are women who are running the organisation, is that I'm not alone in that.
Yeah. And
actually not just prioritising when your children need you, but also when your parents need you as they get older, that is understood in a way I don't think it ever was understood in previous roles with it's a bit stereotypical to say men in charge, isn't it? But the men that I worked with.
Yeah, and that's the same as me. I can remember my eldest son, I had to take early maternity leave, and the reason I had to take early maternity leave was the manager at the time asked me to do things that I just couldn't do. I was pregnant and was asking me to lift people, and I said, oh, actually, I don't feel very confident in doing that. I'm pregnant, and he scoffed at me and literally just went, oh, for goodness sake. Well, if you can't do your job, then you're just going to have to go on maternity leave, which then resulted in me having to go back to work when my eldest son was 8 weeks old. And so that guilt of having this newborn baby, and I was breastfeeding and trying to express the milk and then being at work and having the guilt that my baby's at home, but knowing that financially I had to go back to work. But also I felt like I had a point to prove to this manager that I could.
That you're superwoman.
Yes.
You're not just a woman.
That you're and just the tiredness and the exhaustion that comes with trying to be everything. And like you said, working now with lots of other inspirational women who are super women, and realising that actually to be a superwoman isn't about giving your all to everything. It's about going, okay, so I can give you, today I'm going to give you 20% because I need to keep 80% for this, and not feeling guilty about it. But I think it's taken a long time for us to get to this point. And I think social care, like you said, I think we are in a unique position where there are a lot more women in leadership than perhaps you would find in corporate organisations.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.